Hello guys, Airsoft Al here, and yes, you're reading the title correctly, I am actually doing another what if scenario, but this time on Steven Universe. Season 5 just dropped with its 1 hour special, which of course showed Trial, Wanted, Off Colors, and Wanted, I believe is the titles. You can correct me in the comment section down below, but either way. Now, I'm a person who loves alternative history, basically. And I am sorry if I'm going to be cutting myself off some mid-sentences to correct myself. That's kind of how I am, but either way. I am sorry for my shaking. It is a little bit cold. I'm a little bit hyper on coffee at the moment. But I just thought I'd get this out there in a vlog style to try and save time on editing and, of course, get it out there. Oh, that's good coffee. Anyway, so, I kind of had a question. Or at least it raised a question in my mind. When Steven finally came home, and Lars, of course, being now immortal, like a lion, and now having a portal in his head, it started raising questions. Because now we have a perfect setup, if Rebecca Sugar goes down at one day, for a war. And I love war. Yes, insert the Major from Helsing Ultimate speech here. And, of course, Team 4 stars the Major speech. But either way. But it does raise a really good question. What if Homeworld invades? What if the gems open up to humanity to get the militaristic forces and the resources they need to fight Homeworld? These are the questions I shall speculate on. I know many other videos have tried to speculate, but with this new information I shall attempt to do it. And try to assess the strategies and the tactics they would use to fight Homeworld with the military forces they have at their disposal. So, with that in mind, we shall begin the speculation now. So, and going ahead and mark that as word. Steven has come home, but Lars is still off-world. Now, with the preparation to prepare for the inevitable Homeworld invasion, the crystal gems finally open up to the humans and begin sharing and began uniting the Earth under one alliance. Now, we could speculate on the name of this alliance, of course. It could be Earth Alliance, Earth Federation, what have you. But we are simply going to ignore that and focus on the military aspect, considering the EDF, which would be the Earth Defense Forces. Now, each one can be taken, can be seen. And I am going to talk about each gems, because let's face it, they are good at what they do. Obviously, Garnet, being Garnet, would take on a more commanding role, obviously commanding the whole militaristic forces of the EDF. Pearl, having her extensive flight training and being able to fly circles around probably all Homeworld gem ships, would take command of the Air Force, of the EDF Air Force, and possible Fleet Stratcom, which Stratcom is, of course, Strategic Command. Now, you're probably already saying, what, you mean like ships? No. With Peridot being Peridot, of course, we can already assume that she would offer her technological know-how and knowledge to quickly and rapidly probably produce Earth ships, EDF ships that could be in orbit, as well as defensive stations, creating a type of, well, weapons platform in orbit. Kind of like the MAC guns from Halo. From the Halo universe, I mean. Now, with that in mind, we also have Lapis and Amethyst. Now, Lapis and Amethyst would probably take on a more supportive role and a defensive role, protecting Steven, and of course helping raise him at the same time. Now, with that said, we can definitely also say that with Steven's friends, especially Sadie because she's in love with Lars, obviously, hello! All of them would want to sign up and help defend Beach City, as well as help defend Steven and protect him. The dad, obviously, not really sure. We can only speculate whether or not Greg would sign up and serve with the EDF. However, if they do, obviously they would be under the command of the Crystal Gems, considering that Beach City would be considered their territory and their command. So, with that in mind, we can also speculate what would happen next. And of course, playing a lot of Command and Conquer and Supreme Commander and all these RTS games, we can already tell that Homeworld will attack Beach City because that is their primary target. That is where the Crystal Gems are. That is where they're going to be at. So, they would massively defend it. They would put up defenses. I'm talking mobile SAM sites as well as AT-AT defenses, including some stationary or mobile MAC cannons, which is magnet accelerator cannons. But either way. Now, as for the weapons that the forces would be using, obviously, with the help of Peridot and the Crystal Gems, they would not only train the human forces how to fight against gems, but also possible corrupted gems, because we have to pull into aspect that Homeworld may have corruption. And I'm going to get to Homeworld in a second, because obviously there's possibly something going on there with Blue Diamond, Yellow Diamond, but I'll get that into it in a second. Obviously, the weaponry they would be issued would be anti-gem style weapons. So I'm going to take a shot in the dark and say possible railguns, Gauss rifles, maybe some and if they're still using ballistic weaponry, we can already assume they would use high caliber penetration rounds, such as from 7.62, 308, 45, and 50 cal. So they would use large calibers with maximum penetration damage. Now, would they shatter gems? This is the kind of thing I don't know. Probably not, considering that the human forces, considering that the crystal gems would probably try and say, don't shatter them, only capture them when you disrupt their physical form. So we can already assume that there will be containment units on the soldiers to contain the gems. This is only speculation, mind you, and what I believe. Now, with that in mind, there's, of course, the Homeworld gems. What's going on with them? We have seen a possible civil war thanks to Trial, where Yellow Diamond is accused of killing Pink Diamond, or at least shattering Pink Diamond. I know, I'm probably using terms that would only account to biological forms and not mineral forms, but this is just me trying to do my thing. So the question comes down to, would there be a civil war? Possibly. And if there is a civil war, that means that Yellow Diamond's forces that would be sent to Earth would be little. And when I mean little, I mean compared to them, would probably be a couple million instead of the couple billion that would be sent to Earth. Or what have you. But either way. So if a civil war does happen, that means the forces sent to Earth would be around the million instead of the billion. So, what happens? The infamous day arrives, and the Beach City forces orbital platforms basically detect Homeworld fleet, or at least the Yellow Diamond's fleet, coming towards Earth. As such, they prepare to fight. They open up with MAC cannons and long-range missile defenses to try and hold back the fleet, while the ground forces evacuate Beach City of all civilian population, as well as other major populated cities to evacuate away from the possible targets. However, as I speculate, they would target Beach City only. Now, while the fleet ships, which of course are probably the giant arms, or maybe a few others, target the orbital defense platforms to try and take them out, we can already assume that the casualties in the space fleet would be high. However, Pearl's Air Force does help deal massive blows, dropping a type of displacement bomb on the ship's surface to try and damage it as much as possible. Now, on the ground, drop ships from Homeworld ships are already flying down to try and take ground forces. However, thanks to heavy anti-aircraft and mobile SAM sites, Homeworld dropships are dropping like flies. However, gems who jump out at the last second land on the beach and try to take it. However, massive, heavily defended beach positions are holding their ground. We can already assume, I can say that the beach defenses would be like that of Normandy, whereas heavily defended with mobile guns and positionary guns that would take out anything on the beach. Now, while this is going on, the siege of Beach City lasts for weeks. Homeworld is still sending in gem dropships. However, they start sending them to other positions around the world to try and find strategic locations to get to Beach City. So we can already assume that America would be the primary target. However, we can also assume that Yellow Diamond, being Yellow Diamond and strategic, would try and launch other tactics to try and invade Beach City, or at least try and take out Earth forces. So, she begins to target strategic military positions of high value, and starts taking them out, such as Asia and Russia, including America. as well as some parts in the UK. Now, while this is happening, the Earth Defense Forces begin to prepare to launch retrofit ICBMs, or intercontinental ballistic missiles, to attack the homeworld fleet. It is thanks to Peridot's retrofitting, she puts on a device which will disrupt the GEM's physical bodies completely and put them into their GEM state, making the ships completely inert. Now, a successful launch of this device would mean turning the tide of the war in humanity and the Crystal Gem's favor. However, Garnet is hesitant, but because of her foresight, sees two possibilities. One, the missile launch fails and is shot out of the sky by Homeworld, and any other future launches would be disastrous. Two, it succeeds, but Homeworld would come up with a counter to try and counteract Peridot's device. Again, we can only assume. Out of the 5 retrofit ICBMs, only one gets through and disrupts 1/3 of the fleet, the Homeworld fleet. At which point, they do cause a massive blow in Homeworld forces coming down to Earth, leaving 1/3 of the fleet completely inerted, completely defenseless, and ready to be taken by EDF Fleet Command. At which point, Pearl's Air Force sweeps in and mops up the rest that were not affected by the ICBM. On the ground, in a very safe, secure location, Steven and the others watch the conflict happening on TV with concern, which we all know Steven, being Steven, would want to fight, but he can't. Well, technically, they won't let him. Greg obviously would never let Steven go to a full-fledged war. Connie, of course, wants to fight, but she and Steven have only known small skirmishes, not full-blown battles. Which, of course, means Amethyst and Lapis would try their best to keep Steven and the other kids away from the conflict, and try their best to make sure they don't get involved. However, thanks to Garnet, and finding out, with Steven's information, finding out that Lars is now a conduit to go to Homeworld, a plan is drawn up to put a disruptor bomb on Homeworld to try and completely cripple the Homeworld's war machine. Garnet, along with other human commanders, begin strategizing how to place one of Peridot's bombs in Homeworld. Now, a force of about a platoon size prepares to go through. However, before going through, they send a radio operator through Lars's head. I know that's kind of weird, right? Still weird to me. And prepares contact with Strat Command. At which point, Strat Command sends in the platoon to disrupt. However, before finishing, they evacuate the oddballs out of Homeworld. You know, those gems that were considered imperfect, back to Earth in safety. I'd say roughly Kansas, probably the middle of the United States, probably Nevada, give or take. At which point, the disruptor bomb is brought onto Homeworld and is set in a strategic location which would completely disrupt the war effort and show Homeworld that no matter how far you are, we will cripple you and we will find you, sending a message to Yellow Diamond that they are not safe. At which point the bomb is set off and hundreds, if not thousands of gems are disrupted. Their physical bodies completely inerted and their gems lay still on the ground. At which point the platoon begins guerrilla-style operations, and with all this happening, it begins to turn into a war of attrition, a guerrilla-style warfare on 2 fronts. To Yellow Diamond, she has a war on 3 fronts. She has a civil war with Blue Diamond and her forces, a guerrilla force on Homeworld, and the war on Earth. Yellow Diamond, being pushed, would have very, very limited options. Either sign a surrender or a ceasefire with the EDF and the Crystal Gems to fight Blue Diamond, or continue this war, which would inevitably lead to her own self-destruction. Now, while this is going on, political talks are happening with Blue Diamond Because we know Blue Diamond loves humanity. She loves them because Pink Diamond liked them, and because Rose liked them. So we can only assume that political talks between the two factions would happen. However, I can only speculate that far. Anything else beyond that is purely in the air. But what do you guys think? And, of course, what do you think of my first speculation of Steven Universe? And if you want me to speculate more on Steven Universe, please let me know in the comment section down below, or any other show, militaristically speaking. And I want to know your thoughts. What do you think would happen if Homeworld invades Earth? What do you think would happen? As always, I've been Airsoft Al, and I will see you guys in the next video. Also, please do consider donating to our Patreon, in the link down below or the annotation. And as always, guys, I will see you in the front lines. Until next time.